Let's get started with Unit 9. Remember, when you see the word on the screen, be sure to fingerspell it, and then we'll show you the sign. Let's get started with our first sign, which is stubborn, also the sign for donkey. It's stubborn. Stubborn. Now the sign for mischievous. 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 Again, mischievous. The sign for tough or blunt personality is tough. Tough. The sign for rude. Rude is a 25 hand and it's rude. Rude. The sign for mean, as in cruel, is mean. Mean. Now the sign for crazy. This one just makes sense. It's number one hand and it looks crazy. Crazy. The sign for odd or strange is odd. Odd. Now this is review. We have the sign for positive. Positive, like positive person or plus. Positive. The sign for old or the sign for age is old. Old. All right, the sign for young is bent 5 hands and it brushes on your shoulders. Young. Young. Now the sign for chubby or medium weight is like this. You do not want to puff out your cheeks. You just want to keep it like this. Now, if you're talking fat or overweight, we have fat. You want to puff out your cheeks. It's important to puff out your cheeks. Fat. All right, the sign for mustache. The sign for mustache. It draws the mustache. And it draws the shape of whatever the mustache is. All right, the sign for handsome or good looking is appearance, nice. So you're going to take those two signs together. Face, nice. That's handsome. All right, the sign for cute is cute. Cute. All right, the sign for smart or intelligent is 25 hand smart. Smart. All right, now dumb. The sign for dumb is an A hand and it hits your forehead. So dumb. All right, the sign for stupid is similar, but it's a V hand and it taps your forehead. Stupid. All right, the sign for moron kind of looks like pea brain, and it's a G hand and it draws a small brain. So, moron. Okay, we have two signs for the sign for know nothing or ignorant. So there are two signs. It's a 0 in your head like you know nothing, or an F hand and you shake it back and forth. So know nothing or ignorant. All right, the sign for glasses. Now this is the noun glasses. Is glasses. It's just a tap. Glasses. Now the sign for putting on your glasses, so this becomes a verb, is put on your glasses. Put on your glasses. All right, so the sign for hearing aid, so the noun hearing aid is just a tap, hearing aid. Hearing aid. Or the verb to put on your hearing aid is hearing aid, or put on hearing aid. All right, our next one is that one. The sign for that one is that one. And it's toward whatever that is. Now, if that isn't in the room, then you would sign that. That. And you don't use these too often. All right, the sign for this, again, you really won't use it too often, is this. this. And these, again, you will not use these signs very often, is these. Normally you would just point, but it's these. All right, the sign for house. The sign for house is house. You draw the shape of a house. House. All right, now the sign for dirty, and it's also the sign for pig. There are actually two signs. They're similar, but they're not quite the same. There's pig or dirty, or you can wiggle your fingers. So dirty, dirty. All right, now the sign for remember. Remember or memory is remember. Kind of like you're taking the memory out of your head and putting it somewhere to remember it. The sign for forget, like elephants never forget. There are two signs for forget. The first one is forget, forget, or the other sign is done with a 25 hand shape, and it's forget, forget. Now if something slips your mind, or if it's at the tip of your tongue, you just can't figure out what it is, you sign slips the mind. So the thought disappears. All right, now the sign for weekend. Weekend is weekend. Weekend. Now the sign for go away, like a vacation or you're going to go away somewhere, is go away. Like I'm going to go away somewhere. Go away. The sign for stay. It's two Y hands and it's stay. Stay. Now the sign for still, like something still happening, is still. Still. The sign for pull really depends on what you're pulling. In this case, it's pulling something like a rope, and it's pull. Pull. The sign for push, again, depends on what you're pushing. This is push. Push. Okay, the sign for give up or surrender is give up. You're throwing your hands in the air. Give up. The sign for play, as in to play something, is play. Play. The sign for party is two P hands shaking back and forth. Party. Party. The sign for change, as in something's changing. There are two signs for the sign for change. The first one is with X hands. Change. Again. Change. Or you just switch the hand shape to an A hand, but the movement's the same. Change. Change. That's up to you. The phrase I know that or know that is know that. So you're mixing the two together. Know that. Now to look for or search for something, there's two signs for that as well. There's search or look for. Again. Or if you're really searching hard for it, you'll use two hands and it's search or look for. Search. The sign for oh gee or oh darn, something like that, which you won't use that often, is oh darn or oh gee. Again, oh gee. And your last sign is the sign for new, which is new. New. Okay, that's the end of Unit 9, everyone. That's the end of Unit 9. Make sure you're practicing every day, and we'll see you in class. Have a great week.